Hello, Culture Matters Podcast. Before I introduce you to our guest, very excited for this episode. Here is a quote just for today. Goal first, product second. Pete Fournier, founder, All Things Insurance Group. That is something our today's guest, Pete Fournier, has been saying for years. And having had the opportunity, spending real time in the trenches, in the foxhole, inside All Things Insurance Group, I don't think it's simply a sales philosophy anymore. I think it's really a philosophy for building business. So I'm so excited to have Pete on our show today to discuss the upcoming All Things Insurance Group Summit and where ATIG is going. Not only where it is today, but where it's going in the future, serving clients, recruiting advisors, and creating impact in agents' life. So thanks for coming on the Culture Runners podcast.
Thanks for having me as always, brother.
But first things first, what does goal first, product second mean to you?
We're obviously being in the insurance space for people that don't know me. Anything financial services based is you're selling intangibles. So if there's not a clear-cut goal, or rather a problem, that are incorporating a solution for, quote unquote, selling a solution for, the sales process is broken. They only buy our products and services to mitigate future issues that they would incur for not having them. So we're not selling Ferraris or Big Pens, something that we can ram down somebody's throat. It has to stem from an initial goal or issue first before the actual sale can take place.
Do you remember when that first came into your mind that goal first, product second?
I think for me, it did maybe 10, 11 years ago when I started producing at a very high level and I was no longer captive and I was more on the broker side. But really, it didn't come back full circle with ATIG, I would say, until probably like 2024. So I incorporated the company in 21, November of 21. And in about late 23, early 24, we had a large restructuring, and you know the story. And if anybody else, wants to DM me and hear about the infancy of the company, I'm happy to share. But we were at like an impasse with retention of client, retention of agent, which is arguably my client. And I couldn't figure out what was broken or what was breaking every time we were onboarding people, both on the client side and on the agent side. And it was we got away from what made me a successful insurance producer. And I thought the right answer was recruit 1 million people, get them selling, revenue, 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 and eventually we'll make our margins. We're not Walmart. We can't sustain that way on selling hundreds of millions of products at 10 cents margin wise. So, in digging deeper into why closing ratios were poor, why retention was poor for some of the agents, et cetera, it stemmed from here's the product, here's the quote, want it in the most elementary of terms. And that was a completely busted product or process. So I had to go back and almost reframe to our agent force that was still there and all the newcomers. Listen, this is not a product that you can force somebody to buy. And there's thousands. It's not like we sell just one. It has to stem from a problem or a goal first, and then the sale will come. They have to do it in order to fix said problem. So long-winded answer, but I would say about 2 years ago, it really came to fruition.
If an agent really understood this, how does their Monday morning look different?
Um, you find yourself doing a lot more, we call it case design, but client prep for people outside of the industry. What does Jay Doran need? Being XYZ age, married, does he have a kid? Does he own a home? Does he own a business? What is the problem that we're trying to solve with products and solutions. It's not, hey, Jay, what's up? Let me sell you a term policy. Like, what if you don't need one or want one or even like the term? You know what I mean? So um, I think like their work week begins one on Sunday, more or less, when you're more solutions driven than product driven, because you're prepping the week. How am I fixing XYZ client's situation Monday at 1:30, Tuesday at 3:30, Wednesday at 4:30? And it becomes less about playing the numbers game of sales of, hey, listen, if I make 30 phone calls, I'll close at 30% because I'm ramming stuff down people's throat. The people that really assimilate to this process, their closing ratios are like 85, 90% because they're not closing. They're solving a problem with a solution that they provide and get commissions for. So a lot less volume per occurrence, per cold call, per meeting, per whatever, but much higher one profitability and two ease of closing because it's almost lack thereof throughout the week for our people.
I want to acknowledge you. Uh, you are recording this with me on a Sunday. It's almost 8 o'clock, so he's living what he's sharing right now. I thought that was interesting. Why did you start All Things Insurance Group in the first place?
Initially, it was the mission of eliminating the friction of agents and clients to do business with each other. And I, probably one, maybe selfishly, but also two, taking too much advice from peers within the industry got me away from my initial mission between 21 and 23. There's no way that's profitable. How are you going to track KPIs? How are your agents going to get paid right away? And I still sometimes get these questions, but I feel like I started it with a purpose of I wanted a clear-cut path to teach agents how to become Swiss Army knives in their third year or less, because the more problems that you solve for prospects, the more money you make. If you're a one-trick pony, you're kind of torched in 2026. So that was the reason for Inception. But the reason I think I got away from it is I had too many knuckleheads chirping in my ear, and I took their advice with a grain of salt and ran down the wrong path.
What problem were you trying to solve, or how would you articulate the problem, or what the problem in the industry, and how your mission is different? What-
So the initial issue is twofold, and they kind of intersect. One is how do you get your people up and running and paid fast? And that's kind of counterintuitive from how ATIG runs its business. Yeah, people put money in their pockets quickly from an agent perspective, but our overall sales strategy or our credo, if you will, kind of is counterintuitive to that. Hey, you're a solutions based business. You got to go find problems. You can't ram big pens or cars, Honda Civics down people's throats. So I think that's the number one problem is everybody's looking for that quick buck. Whereas when we go to bring somebody on, it's, hey man, do you have $3,000 to $5,000 to market your business? Do you have 3 to 6 months of living expenses before you jump into this full force? Because if you do and you have that buffer, you can do the right thing for the client. So we're not worried about getting a paycheck today's Sunday on Tuesday because you have a little wiggle room and you can do the right thing. So I think that's one. Everybody's looking at this as a get rich quick, not scheme, but get rich quick industry. It's a get rich certain industry, and that takes some time. The problem number one. Problem number two is almost every organization out there that you would think of. I don't even have to name them. If you're in the space, you know who I'm talking about. 12, 15, 20, 25 different organizations. All of them are one trick ponies. And they built a phenomenal, gigantic, massive business on that. So I can't fault them for it because they're making millions upon millions of dollars. But the issue goes down to the client level. If you're only a one trick pony, yes, it's about your paycheck and you're making solid money, but you are not serving the client to the fullest extent that you need to. And then therefore you will eventually lose them. I can guarantee it.
This actually makes me more curious. So if in your words, the organization that's one trick for like that's their culture. How do you see that impact the careers of the agents if their customer is getting worse and worse service?
Well, the fail out rate or retention becomes abysmal. You can't set your watch to getting rich certain because your renewals are dwindling and dwindling and dwindling because you may have Swiss Army knives like me or my team come in and say, well, why isn't your agent doing this for you and this and this? Oh, yeah, they sold you XYZ. We can do that too. But why aren't they looking at A, B, C, D, E, F, G? Why don't you bring it all under one roof? So that's one thing is you can't set your watch to that residual base because they're going somewhere else eventually. Number two is I don't know if people have been paying attention, but AI is pretty crazy. And eventually, if you are not a solutions-based business, I don't care if it's financial services, it's real estate, it's whatever, right?
Yeah.
Software engineering. If you are not multifaceted in what you do, you're going to get commoditized by a bot eventually. People can go online and buy, let's say, car insurance. So why are you only selling car? Why aren't you doing home, commercial, life, health, group, etc.? Takes a little while to learn that stuff, but I envision the main issue with one line of authority from the agent's perspective, not just losing clients, is you don't want to get commoditized and you also don't want the outside economy affecting yours. I'll give you an example. Someone only does health insurance. Well, great. The government says, guess what? This is not a thing. So disclaimer, this is not what's happening. But government comes in, new president, new regime, and says, listen, we're taking all health insurance in-house. It's now non-commissionable across the board. Could they do that? 1,000%. Would they? I don't know. But I don't want my business to be subject to a decision that some idiot made on his pulpit. You know what I mean? So being multifaceted, if they took one prong away, would we lose a little revenue? Yes. Would it bankrupt us? Absolutely not.
The get rich quick attitude. And how do you define one trick pony for someone that doesn't understand the reference in terms of insurance company?
So if you're only selling one line of authority, hey, I only do final expense. I only do life insurance, but I don't do health. I only do health, but I don't do Medicare. I only do Medicare, but I don't do annuities, et cetera, et cetera. And you may start in your infancy only learning one line of authority. That's fine. But 6 months from now, you got to add. 6 months later, you got to add. And that way you're learning and ever evolving to solve problems. Because at the end of the day, and I do a lot of these financial wellness seminars for clients, I tell them you should go with a person that does everything in-house because ultimately with your insurances, A affects B, affects C, affects D, affects E. So if you don't have a 10,000 foot overview looking at all of your portfolio of products at once, your puzzle pieces might be out of whack, you know?
And you said your residual fades, you become a commodity, and the outside economy impacts you more.
100%.
Who would you say ATIG is built for, though?
Um, the person and advisor you can and cannot use, whatever, but it's still in our realm, even if we're not doing assets under management like a Pine Valley or something of that nature, or our friends that are in the business of doing actual, Series 65 stuff. You should want to become an advisor for your clients, even if it's just in the insurance space. I get to tell my people that sit across from me at my desk in my office every day, think of me as your chief visionary officer. Now, I might have a team member write your P&C. I might have a team member write your Medicare. I might have a team member write your life insurance. But you get to come to me and I strategize all these different products and how they intersect solutions wise for you. And then you get one point person. You might have a team behind you of 25 people that you don't see behind the curtain, but we're doing it all for you.
Why care so much?
Because over the course of I've been doing this for it'll be 16 years in December. I have seen so many people from a client perspective get screwed. And sometimes, yes, it is malicious, but a lot of the times it's the inability of the agent to find the true solution to the problem. So, policies don't pay out the right way. They are underinsured. They didn't have the right benefits, whatever the case may be. I'll give you an example of this. We just had a lady come in the office. She paid $187,000 of lifetime premium. I won't get into the details of the case because I'll nerd out about it. But $187,000 of premium went in for husband and wife over the course of time. 17,000 in benefits were paid out to her and her husband before he died. What are we doing? And like somebody probably made a fat chunk of change on that and maybe posted on social media. Probably not because it was a while ago, but maybe they told their buddies in a bar, hey, I just made 10 G's today doing X, Y, and Z. But ultimately, it didn't do anything for the client. Get paid, but get paid for doing the right thing. And arguably, you'll get paid more
Why do you think you'll get paid more?
because they keep coming back. Like when you have all of the solutions, it's not like you're going to get them all on the initial meeting. I don't even want you attacking all of them necessarily on the initial meeting. You take the biggest problem first and you solve it. You take the second biggest problem and maybe you solve it the same day or a week later, or whatever the case may be. But then there's always other problems that arise. So I try to think of a client, not, yeah, wow, I made 5 grand today. Holy shit, it's amazing. No, what is the lifetime value of the relationship with that person? Are you going to go to their kid's bar mitzvah? I don't know. Probably not. But what's the LTV of them knowing and respecting you and seeing you as the actual solutions expert to come back in year over year over year, new problem? And then you have a new, to quote my favorite movie, a new idea, a special idea, right? Another avenue or solution to sell. So I've had some clients over the course of 15 and a half years, call it, the lifetime value of them was close to like three, $400,000. Why? Because I solved a problem first, and then they just kept coming back to me with other issues. Hey, can you handle this? What about this? What are your thoughts on this? So if you care enough to make the initial that special for them and have them know that you can accomplish anything, whether it's now or in the future, they'll be your client for life. And then you will get paid handsomely. You'll get paid way more than just doing one thing.
In that scenario of the 187 and the 17 benefit, was the problem the product or the agent in your view?
The both product less, not a terrible product, but not the best one in my humble opinion. The problem is there was no follow up. It was one and done. So all they did was pay, 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 pay. They never heard from this person ever again. 15, 20 years goes by. There's no upkeep. There's no checkup. There's no, is there any other problems? And then boom, something happens and they need to cash in on the insurance and nothing has been tweaked in 2 decades because maybe that person failed out because that's all they sold was that one product line. Who knows?
Mm.
But the client sure as hell didn't come back year over year.
And what does that mean for the agent and their career? In if those types of Aristotle said, we are what we repeatedly do. Success is it's a habit, or excellence is a habit. We are
Mm-hmm.
what we repeatedly do. What does it do to the advisor to if they only know that one way?
It pigeonholes them one from a solutions perspective, but it 100% creates commission breath. In our space, we get paid on comp. We don't charge fees, right? We just get paid on commissions from the carrier. Well, if you only have a hammer for everybody's nut, bolt, nail, wrench, screw, whatever, you're going to try to beat them to death every time to drive whatever it is into the wall. That doesn't work really well for the agent because the more you try to sell, the less you will ultimately at the end of the day. Or you'll ram it down somebody's throat and then 3 days later they'll cancel because they just wanted to get you off the phone or out of their office, right?
Mm. Mm. So I don't think that the ATIG Summit is just a conference. Would you say that the summit exists?
One, again, from a Swiss Army knife approach, yes, I'd love to create that in the space of even non-ATIG agents. That's why we invited the general public. But wanting to answer the questions and solve the problems regarding the four pillars of the industry, which is you need a mission, you need something to achieve, go after, etc. You need a why to be in the space. And yeah, maybe initially for me at 21 years old, 22, it was like a Ferragamo belt and Gucci shoes. That could be your why for now, but it will evolve, right? You need a mission for your plan of attack. Number two pillar is mindset. If you're not right in the head, and you have that commission breath, or you just are that one trick pony, or you can't think outside the box for yourself, you're not going to do well. So, flipping the script on changing your mindset throughout this event. Number three is sales, because if you aren't good at problem solving, you're not going to close squat. And number four is marketing, because that's a contention among everybody in the industry. Everybody's trying to sell the next best lead, marketing tactic, Facebook ad, billboard, whatever. So I want to give people the insight on what's worked like crazy for me over the last 15 and a half years and all the other peers that are going to be on stage and what didn't work. So that way they can pay a whopping, I don't know, 247 bucks is the minimum ticket to get in the room to basically have a cheat code to not make any mistakes. Will they make some in the future? Sure, but use the thousands that I've made and my friends have made so you can skip the line.
People use the word transformation when in terms of events, gatherings, self-development. What's your take on transformation? You know, what transformation are people actually buying if they participate, if they really go all in?
I think for most, the transformation isn't going to be or doesn't have to be like this. Oh my God, beam of light. I've seen the light. I'm totally negating what I was doing before and I'm doing this way. I don't think that's going to happen for most. I think 85 to 90% of the room is going to get two, three, four nuggets that I see on a personal level because we host mini events like monthly. So you get 10 or 12 people in the office, and everybody seems to take away like one or two like baby epiphanies that will transition their entire business over the long haul. I think it's not going to be, hey, I'm totally negating X and I'm doing Y. It's going to be over the course of time, but you're going to take in a couple nuggets that are going to transform your career, not cannibalize the business that you're doing right now.
If there's a belief change from the morning before it starts to that right after it ends, what belief change would you be proud that somebody that attended had a shift from a belief standpoint?
I bet the main one is I can do this.
Huh.
I can do it the right way and I could do it well, meaning getting paid well, executing well, etc. But I can change. Maybe it's over the course of time, but I can pivot. I can make this happen. I can do it well. Um, and like just having sometimes you just need to change your wiring and get out of the house or the office or the off the island that you've been residing in for the past however long since you've been to the last event. And I think that's important too. You need just a little shift, a little reframe. And sometimes you need community. You just need to be sitting next to Joey or Susie that's absolutely annihilating it too. They're just looking for a baby epiphany.
Hmm.
So the belief is, hey, other people are doing this and having success as well.
This is more on a personal side, and I think is relatable business is many of or a handful of the speakers you were either learning from or they were competitors of you. And today it seems to be that they're learning from you or with you, or it's a peer to peer and beyond relationship. So what do you attribute that to in your own journey as a business owner, as a agent, as a uh, growing the company?
I think a big thing is one, I've never been so I've been confident, but not so cocky to not take a nugget, an item, a thought, which is sometimes hurts you, like I talked about in 2022, but taking the best from some of my peers and even competitors in the space. And I think it's going to be a really good event for participants because there is synergy between me and every speaker, as well as some of the speakers intertwined. To your point, we've either worked together, we've been friends, I've learned from them or paid for coaching, they've learned from me or paid for coaching. Like, it's not like I threw out a bunch of paychecks and got headliners to come and talk. We've all done business together in some way, shape, or form. So we all have a very similar belief. You're not going to come here and hear like 57 different talks that go against each other. It's all going to be intertwined in some way, shape, or form. Do we have different businesses? Sure. And we run things a little bit differently, but there's always going to be this thread going throughout the event.
How do you see that camaraderie being beneficial to the attendees? That
Uh,
there is a pre-existing relationships.
Uh, I think a few ways. One, I think the general populace, especially because of social media now, I didn't really have this much in 2010 when I got licensed, but now I think people think that like the higher ups, quote unquote, in all the organizations, like are so separate. It's like Joey hates Billy, who hates Susie, who hates this because not we all talk on a weekly basis, probably. Are we competing? Yeah, but we're also learning and strategizing with each other throughout the year. So it'll be interesting. Like I've already gotten DMs like, "Oh my gosh, so and so is going to be there." Like I thought you and them go against each other like Jets and Sharks and West Side Story. Not really. Like it's not like I'm trying to bury XYZ company and they're trying to bury me. The guys at the top learn from one another.
Who are the speakers? Why them at ATIG Summit? What's one thing you think the audience is going to appreciate about said person?
Well, one, you. So
Well, thanks.
Jay and I have a friendship and a business relationship, and I think he's going to really change your perceptions, mindset. He's just expanding knowledge from a business coaching perspective is bar none, and I won't steal any of his thunder. So Jay's going to be there.
Thanks.
The real Brad Lee, the succession of that story, and I'm going to tell it more at the summit too. But I went from super fan to podcast guest to friend to business relationship to we chat every once in a while and people are like, "Oh my God, you're friends?" Yeah, dude. But like the evolution of the story, it's like 8 years in the making, which is crazy. And he's built one successful business over another, and he's obviously in the financial services space too. So he's going to talk at a very high level in business entrepreneurship, a little bit of financial service as well. I'm so pumped for him, and his keynotes are bar none. John Wetmore, who's just in the office, doing my annuity seminar training. I've been friends with John for like 5, 6 years. We've been on some insurance circuits together, touring the United States, speaking, etc. And we've always stayed in contact. And the dude is an absolute animal in terms of work ethic, changing your mindset into how you need to accomplish things in very micro increments on a daily basis. And he built a, $100 million agency. The dude's crazy. Tony Merwin's been a great friend of mine. He's got more Medicare and health insurance knowledge that he's forgotten than I know. So having his 22-year experience on stage is going to be huge. Steve Guilfoyle has built a monster health insurance conglomerate, which I know he's going to talk about, and I've known him for the past 5 or 6 years. PE guy, Johnny Hillbrand, I've gotten to know over the past couple months. Not in the industry, but if you follow PE guy on social media, the dude's a monster when it comes to branding, social media content. He gets paid tens of thousands of dollars a month to do co-sponsored reels and stories, and he's going to share the importance of personal branding and having a presence online. And then we have a ton of panelists. We have Nate Offert, who has a huge organization under Symmetry, which again is technically a competitor of ours, but like we're all buddies. Like it's crazy. So. Uh, really excited for the lineup. And everybody brings, like I said, everybody's going to have that intertwining thread, but everybody brings a different energy, a different perception, and also a completely different business. So I want the audience taking away, hey, you can build this with wood, sticks, hay, stone, concrete. I don't give a shit what materials you use, but just know you could build your business and be 100% successful.
When you went through the process of thinking through what vendors or partners or third parties you wanted there, how did you think about how them being there would be valuable or not for the attendees?
One is like I wanted the real ones. Sorry, Brad, for stealing that, but like I wanted real people. I didn't want a pro basketball player being like, you can do it. That has nothing to do with financial services, in my opinion. Is it cool? Yeah. But like, I wanted people that were actually doing what they, as opposed to being paid to be a speaker. So that was one. Wanted to make sure they were real, and two, like I mentioned, that thread going through the event was so important to me of congruency of messaging, because that's another thing is yes, we all have our different twist on our businesses, but we all kind of grow it in the same manner. So I didn't want a speaker coming on and contradicting the speaker before him and the speaker after her and so on and so forth, which happens a lot at these things because there seems to be no research done on the presenters. Either they're selecting based on hype or they're bringing on just their friends and giving them a speaker gig or whatever the case may be, right? And I've been to some sick events. I'm not talking shit on all of them, but I want the audience to feel like we're all on the same platform, and they will.
People are and have been investing thousands and thousands of dollars to spend time with you and learn. What are they actually buying?
Um, Ultimately, the shortcut to anything that I do, whether it's annuity seminar training, it's coming to the summit, it's a one-on-one coaching call. My main priority is having you skip a step, 12 steps, 17 steps, even if it's, hey, should I do this? No, because I did it 15 times and here's why it doesn't work. Like my whole purpose for anything that's paid engagement, I would call it, whether it's an event or it's personal coaching or training with me, is I want them eliminating mistakes. And you do that by swiping your credit card. You can either do the mistakes or you can pay not to do them, you know? So that's my sole goal.
How much more do you think it costs not to have a shortcut than whatever the amount invested in the shortcut?
I have
Even if
actual
it's anecdotally from the thousands of people you worked with and
I have actual numbers. So like it hurt me back in 20 between 2012 and 2014. I was about $116,000 in total debt because I messed up and no one coached me on the right thing to do. So it took me about 20
uh,
months to get out of that. So that's a huge cost living in my mom's basement, eating ramen noodles and Cheetos and trying to flip Pokemon cards and shit in order to get out of that. A more recent one, too, is I was spending about 70 to $80,000 a month on marketing in 2022 and mid up till the middle of 2023 when we made this shift. Right? My net profit on that, after all was said and done, was about 6,000 a month. So is that 7% margins? Once again, really good for Walmart, not so good for the financial services industry. So if I could have paid someone 50 grand to just not have that 18-month mistake, hindsight's 2020, I would have done it. And I'm not asking you to spend 50 grand. You got to spend a whopping 247 bucks.
so someone comes to Wilmington. What do they get that they just don't get over Zoom?
Um, the the consistency, I want a better word for that, but Zoom turns off. And then you go back and you fiddle with your laundry and your cat throws up and your kid cries and your client like no shows you and whatever. This is like in succession for literally if you have the elite ticket, you're with us for 72 straight hours. A lot can change in that consistency versus, all right, we were on an hour long Zoom, implement these, see you next week. And then life gets in the way, homework gets in the way. I forgot to do X, Y, and Z. I didn't implement shit. Like you're making more of a time commitment than a financial commitment for this event. And it's on purpose because the more time that you surround yourself with people that are actually doing it, the more you're going to gain by osmosis being in that environment. And that way, the more you're going to take back with you and not let seep out, which will on a 45-minute long Zoom.
I don't think I'm gonna sleep much.
No,
I'm
probably
real
not.
excited
I
about
got
it.
the throat
People,
calm ready.
yeah,
I'm going to be sucking down the
yeah.
tea.
72 hours.
Yeah.
Wow. Um, a group of people are in the parking lot after the event. What conversations are they having?
Um,
They're now friends. They didn't know each other before.
I think the networking and the synergy is going to be huge from an audience perspective because I'm hosting an event to teach you how to become a Swiss Army knife. Most of the people in the audience are not Swiss Army knives. So you can do it together if you want to. Bring on a partner, create a business relationship for the infancy. You don't have to do it all alone. You just have to provide a solution. So maybe it's through a partnership that you meet in the parking lot at 1 o'clock in the morning, or at the cocktail hour, or at the golf outing, or maybe it's the guy in your cart, or whatever the case may be. Number two is I hope because I try to do this when I go to an event, like finding, it sounds corny, but you find like an accountability partner to be like, John said this, Jay said this, Pete said this. I'm going to implement this. You're going to implement this. Okay, cheers. Let's recap in 2 weeks and let each other know how it worked. And you can be part of two completely separate businesses, but gaining that accountability from being in the room with somebody else, it works.
Who absolutely needs to be there? What do
Any
they, yeah, what do they look like? What do they, or no, look like? What's their essence? Who needs to be there?
Really good avatars are brand new agents. So if you're new, meaning in your first 12 months, if you're in your first 12 months, you better swipe that credit card for $247. Just tell your wife, tell your spouse, tell your girlfriend, like I'm bouncing, or bring them with them. Our office is at the beach. Bring them, let them chill, and then you come learn. So if you're new in your first 12 months, you have to be there. A second one is someone that's stuck. If you feel a level of complacency and your business is not hockey sticking year over year, you're maybe growing by 10, 12, 15% year over year. You feel like the government or the economy is coming in and commoditizing your business. Come because we'll get you out of stuck. Promise. And the third would be people that have an end goal in mind. Most of the people that are on stage have the same end goal or have already achieved it. I want to sell. I want to ride off into the sunset with $1 million a year in renewals. I want this. I want that. We're either going towards that strategy as well, and we can tell you what we're doing to cut down the timeline between X and Y, or you'll talk to a lot of the speakers that have been there, done that already. So just cheat, copy and paste their path. You don't have to think of it all yourself. Just we're taught in school, don't cheat. It's crazy. In business, fucking cheat. Just copy from them.
Yeah, I think it was great artist copy, good artist steal. Da Vinci said that. I love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
But who who isn't ready or who shouldn't come? What does that look like? That the spirit of that.
If you are in a place where being away from your business, because I've been there, I'm not shitting on you. If being away from your business from 3 to 4 days is gonna like destroy your month, don't come to this one. Maybe join a Zoom call or something, get a little tweak that will help you along the way. But I don't want somebody being like, I spent my rent money to come down to Wilmington. That's not what we're asking for. So, like, if your schedule is going to go to absolute dog shit because you spent 72 hours away from your business, don't come. The other people that shouldn't come is no, is 100% the way to do it. Pete's a fucking snake oil salesman. I don't like any of those speakers, blah, blah, blah. I'm set in my ways. fine, don't come. The only reason you go to an event is to learn, pivot, and implement. If you're like, I got the best thing since sliced bread, cool. Keep your Wonder Bread. I don't give a shit. Doesn't matter to me. But don't come bring like negative cancer energy into the room full of people that want to actually learn something.
So, there's a listener right now who's on the fence. Maybe it was even the statement before what you just said of, oh yeah, I don't know how my month is going to be, but that sounds like I really need to be there. What do you say to them? They're on the fence. They're not sure.
I've never regretted, positive or negative, never regretted a decision I made in business to try to invest in myself. I've gotten to some shitty events. I've met amazing people, some that became friends, some business partners, right? I've gone to amazing events. Oh my God, wow factor, fucking Donald Trump, Grant Cardone, Brad Lee, well, holy shit, and met absolutely nobody. But I never regretted the experience. I always took away something, whether it be a nugget, a business partner, a relationship, or it was, hey, I'm never going to that ever again because I don't believe in any of that shit. Either way, the experience came with a lesson. So no matter what, the investment was always worth it.
5 years from now, an agent that was at the ATIG Summit asked, what changed your career forever? And they say the summit. What would you say likely happened in those 3 days for that person?
Um, Either I think they were one of the three avatars. Either they were brand new, they were in their first 12 months, they've never seen something like this, they weren't taught this, they had no idea it even existed. And we set them up for success through their entire path of their career. So over the next 4 years after their first year, they implemented, they grew, and they did what we said to do, and we high five at the end. Or they were stuck, broken, hey, I feel like I'm on this hamster wheel 24/7, 365. Well, we broke the mold over the next 4 year span or 5 year span, right? Or they said, hey, it was the summit because I met so and so and they exited and they said it took them 7 years and it took five for me because I cheated off them. Sick. But I think it's going to be one of those three people that are in the room.
I just want to end this episode by saying I think it was episode 100 the first time you were on the Culture Matters podcast. And anyone that listens to the Culture Matters podcast, that goes and listens to our episodes together over the years, is going to experience somebody that constantly continues to learn and take things to the next level. And I can't wait for the ATIG Summit. I'm walking around the house talking to myself, thinking about what I could potentially offer to whoever's in this amazing room. So thank you again for the opportunity. If you're listening to this episode of the Culture Matters podcast, share this with someone in the industry and maybe even someone that isn't that you think should be. Pete, how can people follow you on Instagram?
At Peter J. Fournier, all over social media. Shoot me a message, DM, whatever it is. I answer all my own shit. So if you got a question, whether it's summit related or just industry stuff, send me a message.
Um, yeah, I can't wait for the summit. So thanks for coming on. Well, and we
Yeah,
will
I'm
see
pumped.
you. Go ahead, sorry.
No, I'm pumped. Thank you for having me.
If you're listening to this, share this with a friend, and we will see you next time on the Culture Matters podcast. And actually, where can they get a ticket? Let's do that, actually.
Oh,
I
yeah.
know
Go
it's
to
September 2nd, yeah.
Yeah, atigsummit.com. Cheapest ticket is 247. The holy shit one that there's only like two left, I think, is 747. So hopefully we're sold out before hand, but we made it super easy. So we talked about all the good stuff. Here's the long and short of it though. You don't need a car. Everything's walkable. It's all in the host hotel. I made it the most convenient event ever. Your breakfast and lunch is included at every ticket level. And then VIPs get cocktail parties. You get a speaker dinner. You get a golf outing if you want to come in the day before. But it is very convenient. Fly into Wilmington, take an Uber to the hotel, and then just don't leave for 72 hours.
Pete, thank you. And we will see you next time on the Culture Matters podcast.
Thanks, brother.